Welcome to Campfire Wisdom. Grab a seat around the fire and tell us your story.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Campfire Wisdom. This is Greg, and thanks so much for joining me. Uh, I found I'm going to make this, I'm going to confess a couple things. So, when I'm going through and kind of editing things just that work and don't work, I find that I say the word a lot, the word and a lot, and the word so. So, see, perfect example right there. I am committing myself to speaking with more clarity, to make it more clear, to ease my editing life, but at the same time to just, um, I guess, speak with more intention. So that's something I'm coming to you at. I'd like to basically declare a breakdown. The breakdown is that I should be speaking clarity and with clarity, and that's not happening. So I'm going to recommit to you. I'm basically going to promise to you that moving forward, I will be better, and maybe you guys can keep me on track with that. But I also wanted to share with you something that happened to me the other day. And when I say happened to me, I mean that, but there's also a part of it that I did to myself. So I'm going to tell the story in a certain way so it kind of makes the point a little bit more clear for myself, and then also in some ways I'm getting clear. So long time ago, I worked for a company where that really invested in their employees, and part of that investment was this introduction to coaching. And keep in mind, this is like probably late 90s, early 2000s. So this is when kind of the idea and concept of coaching is first getting a hold. And one of the tools that they used in the coaching was the distinction of getting clear. When you get clear, you're basically saying something that may not be, it's not necessarily negative, but it's not necessarily positive either. It's basically something with the intention of letting something be stated as it was. So it is what it is. This is what happened, neither good nor bad, but I'm saying it because I want to get it out. I want it away from me. I don't want it to poison me. So, in the spirit of that, that's where I'm coming at you with this. Now, mind you, there's still some emotion with the story I'm about to tell, so I still feel it, and I think that's why I wanted to kind of share it with you because it's very, very powerful for me, and I think it's something that this time of year we could all get something out of. So yesterday morning, uh, let me try that again with my commitment to not saying uhs and ands. Yesterday morning, I woke up and I was scheduled to work at 8:30. I like to leave my house at 8 o'clock because I like to get to work early. I get there about 8:15, get settled, get ready for the day. I work in retail this time of year. Retail is very busy, long hours, exhausting. So I step outside a little bit past 8 o'clock. I went to my parking spot and my car was not there. And I probably stood there for a good, 3 to 5 minutes, just dumbfounded, thinking, oh, what happened to my car? Did it get stolen? I was honestly, I think I wasn't awake. I was really tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep. So I stumbled back into the house and, oh, I didn't stumble. I wasn't drunk. Sorry. I walked back to the house and I told my girlfriend, I was like, babe, my car is not in the parking spot. So of course she's like, shut the fuck up. She thinks I'm joking around with her. And after a few minutes, she realizes that I'm serious. She looks out the window and says, oh my God, what's going on? So I was like, I don't know. So she actually had the wise idea, you know what? Maybe it got towed. So our HOA is very strict about parking where you park, this and that, and they're kind of known for towing cars quickly. So we're like, okay, let's call the HOA and see what's going on. So we call over to the HOA, and the manager is very combative in general. So she's not a helpful person. And I think the best analogy I could make for this person is that if you remember the stories that your parents used to tell about going to the DMV or going to banks like in the 80s, 90s when people just customer service was not a thing. And the time when people in that field were taught the customer is always right. It was like right when that curve was happening. This person is a throwback to an old world, a different way of doing things, a whole other mentality. She is older. That doesn't matter, but I think that plays into the part that she's a part of that particular generation. So there's backstory there. I feel like I need to share that with you. So we call the HOA. We're like, hey, Judy. I'm going to say Judy. That's not her name because I need a name. I don't want to just say manager. Hey, Judy, was there a car towed? Our car is actually not in the parking spot. So she says, well, I don't know. And, Gisela and I are obviously nervous. We're, shoot, our car just got stolen. We're kind of in a little bit of a panic. She's like, oh, just send me an email with the information and I'll get a chance to look at it. Are you kidding me? Just a historically not helpful person. So Gisela is like, well, can you just like make a note, write down the license plate, or did you tow this vehicle? Do you know if you've towed it? And she's like, you know what? I don't have time right now to write that down. If you send me an email, blah, blah, blah. And then Gisela and her start to get a little tiff. And it also goes into the conversation about surveillance. We pay ridiculous HOA fees. We've got like surveillance cameras everywhere. So it's like, well, hey, look, if there is footage available, can we access the footage? And the first thing she says, she's like, I don't have time to look through and try to find when your car was stolen or if it was stolen. So obviously, I'm hearing this third party. So there's this dialogue going back and forth. It gets pretty heated. But the short and narrow of it is this person is not helpful. Okay. We're immediately met with resistance right there. And obviously, it's frustrating. I'm kind of like, oh God, my car got stolen. What the fuck am I going to do? I sit down and I start going through and preparing all my stuff, looking up the VIN, getting my Sirius XM number because I heard they can track it through that, go through Geico, pull my insurance stuff if the cops are going to need that. Oh, meanwhile, sorry, I called the cops. The cops are en route. Gisela sits down and does her due diligence and sends Judy the information. So she sends Judy my license plate number, what happened, the window of time, the make and model of my car. I had gotten home at 11. I went out to my parking spot at about 8 a.m. And so that's about a 9-hour window, and sends it over to Judy. Judy gets that at 8:29 on the email. I think it was a little bit before 8:30. Meanwhile, I'm just kind of waiting around. I'm supposed to be at work. Tell my work I'm going to be late. All this hoopla, this is what's going on. I think my car's been stolen. I'm not exactly sure. We're trying to figure it out. So I'm waiting around. We're recently found out we're pregnant. We're going to be, going to get our first ultrasound in a few days. This is not the time to be without a car, especially during the holidays. We're supposed to go out of town for New Year's, so on and so forth. So it's just like one of those times where you're just like in your head about everything. We get an email at 8:59 from Judy, the manager of the HOA, saying, Gisela, I just towed your vehicle, which was parked in front of the manager's office at the complex. That's it. That happened 1 hour after we gave the information to our HOA manager. Now, here's the part where I need to do the mea culpa and kind of explain what happened. So I got home at 11 o'clock at night. I was exhausted. I went to go check the mail. I parked where the mailboxes were, got the mail, and I was on autopilot. I got the mail and I walked back to my apartment. So I left my car parked in front of the complex in a parking spot that's only a 10-minute parking spot. So, yes, they were within rights to tow me for sure. I didn't remember that. I'll be honest. I was not out drinking. I was not puffing some ganja or anything like that. I was actually just exhausted. And I think I have a habit of walking out to get the mail, probably just slipped back into that habit. Dumbass, boneheaded move. So my car wasn't there because it was actually parked in front of the manager's office. Now, if I had the inclination that maybe I'd done something stupid or whatnot, I probably would have walked down there and said, I wonder if I did this. But I didn't even think that that would be a possibility. Here's the part that really sticks in my craw. If I had walked down there, I would have seen my car parked in front of the building and I would have been able to get in it and just go right to work. Crazy. Instead, I reached out to our HOA manager and asking for help. Hey, have you towed a vehicle or do you know anything about my car? I can't seem to find it. Had she listened to Giesel at all, had she wanted to be helpful at all, she would have A, known we're looking for a car, B, the car is sitting right out front, and C, the license plate and information about the vehicle was not only communicated to you on the phone call, it was also sent to you in an email 30 minutes before you towed our car. So, again, I'm not saying that I'm not responsible, and I'm not saying that, she didn't have the right to do that. She absolutely did. This is a perfect example of us not working as a team as humans, being in our own world, not wanting to help other people, not taking time for other people, not stopping your own role long enough to maybe, just maybe, listen and help somebody out. She knew that that was my car. She had all the information there, yet she still chose to tow it. She signed off on it. So why would she do that if not to punish us? Maybe she was mad because her and Gisela had words, and they shared that. But especially this time of year, especially, you run through the poor me situations where I'm going to have a kid and it was $300. So it's not, I'm not saying that $300 is like breaking the bank, but just the I don't know. It just seems so malicious. I don't know if maybe I'm totally out of whack on this, but it just seems like she went out of her way to be difficult, went out of her way to not be helpful, and then in the end, took great pleasure in punishing us. I called her after that and I said, what did you do to my car? And that's when she said, your car was parked in the 10-minute spot, blah, blah, blah. So she was ready. Like she knew it was my car. It wasn't Gisela who called back, it was me. And so the first thing she says to me, is this an apology? Is this an apology? Not even about like, hey, I'm so sorry, but your car was parked in there. Let's say she had, oh my God, I didn't realize that was your car. Oh, I didn't look at the email. I didn't have time. I'm so sorry. Not even that. This person took great relish in the fact that they were towing the car. So I was dumbfounded and I said, yes, this is an apology. I shouldn't have parked there. And we finished up the phone call. I called her back again, probably about 5 minutes later, and I realized I was like, you know what, this is a good opportunity to try to coach this woman. And obviously, I made the first mistake in coaching. You can't coach somebody that's not coachable and not willing to be coached. So I was calling with the intention of saying, you know what, I screwed up. I shouldn't have parked there. But in hindsight, what could we have done differently that the outcome would be different? My car wouldn't be towed. I wouldn't have to spend $300 and be late for work. So that was my intention. But I didn't even get a chance to say anything because she says, I'm not going to entertain this conversation with you. I am not going to have this conversation with you. You are not the homeowner, so on and so forth. And ultimately, we just ended the call right there. You're the manager of our HOA. We are your employers, and you don't even have the decency to take a moment to speak with me about the situation that just happened. I couldn't believe it, and we just ended the phone call, and I was like, wow, this lady is a piece of work. At some point, I came to realize that there is a lesson here, and I don't know exactly when that happened. It was definitely after I paid the $305 and after I went to work and explained to my managers what really happened, because of course they thought my car had been stolen, but I had to basically own up to the fact that I simply made a bonehead mistake. I was not being in the moment, I was not being present, and I just totally zoned out. And for me, that was the lesson. I was like, you know what? I paid $305 to get a lesson in being present. So, lesson learned. Okay, here's the money, so on and so forth. But as the day went on, I just started to just ponder this, maliciousness. And I got home last night and, my girl was in bed. She hasn't been feeling good, so she was going to be going to work the next day. And I stayed up and I just wrote like this treatise, and I, you know, put the whole story in it, everything that happened, not disparaging, just very factually based, um, but pointing out the fact that there were several missing elements. And part of it, of course, like I said earlier, is part of it's on me. I'm not even saying that. Actually, the majority is on me. If I had not even parked there, it wouldn't have even been an issue. But it was just a good opportunity to see someone's true colors. But in that moment, I kind of got everything out. I got clear. I sent my email. I think I posted on Twitter for Borgata HOA. I did a review on their Facebook page. And then I also, there's this app. It's fantastic. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it, but it's called Nextdoor. It's actually a really cool way to kind of stay in communication with your neighbors. But I posted on Nextdoor about if anyone else had any experiences with that. And I think with the intention of taking what I'm writing and filing a formal complaint with the Borgata HOA. And that will probably happen. So, this lesson that I learned is about being present, about being focused, about just, I don't know, in some ways, not just meandering through life. I was tired, everything, but I think I called myself an idiot in the car about a million times just because I knew immediately that obviously this could have all been avoided if I had been just in the moment and said, oh, I got to go back to my car to put it in my parking place. So, the second half of this conversation is about forgiveness and taking that moment about getting clear and moving beyond it, not letting it poison you, not letting it rule your life, control who you are, and basically gaining power from a situation that didn't go your way. So, yesterday, after debriefing and, finishing beating up myself with Gisela, I was like, I got to get back into yoga. I got to get back into exercise and fitness and just taking time for myself for those moments where you can really, I don't know, that long-term goal, that self-focus that's so good for you, that really puts you in a frame of reference where you're focusing on your body, you're focusing on your mind, and you have to be there and be present. And so I actually went this morning. I signed up, for I got like a pack of classes, and the first 3 minutes I was thinking about this podcast. I couldn't even concentrate on the class. I was thinking about, oh man, I got to get this poison out of me. I got to like record this. This is a great lesson. This is something. And then I realized that the entire class was like two or three poses ahead of me. They'd already moved into something. So again, another example of that, man, I just got to get out of my head and just get things clear. So the reason I share this is we all make mistakes. I made a huge mistake. It was a total boner move. The best part about it is my car did not get stolen. And I guess if I had to pay 35 or $305 to not have my car stolen, that's worth it. Second off, it has forced me to have this realization that, you know what, I need to commit to myself health wise and everything else above and beyond getting outdoors and being in nature and stuff like that. There's things within my life that I haven't been giving focus to. So I'm going to focus on that, on being present for myself physically, mentally, and at the same time, forgiving and just letting this whole situation go. And that's the part of getting clear that's important, just starting fresh. I have shared with you my story. I have declared that I am now clear of the effects of that story on my life. And maybe, hopefully, we can all learn something from that. Um, Being present, being in the moment, focusing on what needs to get addressed. And maybe that's something that you're neglecting in your life. For me, it tends to be fitness related. When I get busy, I tend to let that slide, and that is something that I should not. I'm a physical person, and I am recommitting myself to that. So maybe it's about recommitting. Maybe it's a really good conversation to have right before the new year, right before you set your goals and whatnot. So this is the preemptive resolution conversation here. So remember this when we talk about it down the road. But and I think the last part of it is forgiveness. So there are people out there that will act in a way that we will never understand, and trying to make sense of it is probably in most cases not worth your time. For me, I'm going to let this one go, and I'm not going to let Judy have her control over me. Thank you so much for listening and hearing me out. I would love to hear from you. Campfirewisdom@gmail.com. I've got some really exciting things coming down into the new year, setting up some interviews with some really cool people. So stick around and we will be in touch. I, I can't help but almost wanting to say I love you guys. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think what you guys do for me, and I don't even know who you guys are, but I love you. Thanks so much for being a part of this, and I will talk to you next time. Bye bye.
Campfire Wisdom is brought to you from the hills of Rancho, Cucamonga. We'd like to thank the men and women that protect our national parks and forests. You make this journey possible. Theme music by Sean Cromwell.